Hi, I'm Rachel, and welcome to my Am Reading video for Friday, August 14th, 2020. Well, the first and only thing I finished so far this week is this book, Been Here 1,000 Years by Mariolina, Venezia, translated from the Italian by Marina, Harss. I talked about this in some detail in my last video because I read this book in part for Women in Translation Month, which is meant to privilege books that have been translated from other languages into English and written by female authors. Extra points for female translators as well. It's an underrepresented group. Unfortunately, I think overall I wasn't very taken with this story, but there were some interesting political avenues that I talk about a little more in my video, which I'll link down below. Future Rachel here. I'm assuming you can tell by the cat behind me, but I wanted to give a quick shout out to the BookTube community, and particularly the people who have put together a Women in Translation readathon later in the month, and I will link to Kendra Winchester's video about it down below. Next, well, I'm not even halfway into this yet, into A Pure Heart by Rajia Hassib. I've been talking about this on and off for a couple months, because a couple months ago I read Hassib's first novel, In the Language of Miracles, and then went ahead to buy her second. Had to put it off because I had other reading goals on and on, but I'm really happy to get to it now. This is a me book, really. There's a lot of female-centered family drama. It starts with a suicide bombing in Egypt in 2016, which kills the protagonist's sister. And then we are mostly with her sister Rose, who is an Egyptologist married to an American journalist. The American journalist actually interviewed the bomber, so there seems to be some tension there because Gamila, the sister, introduced the journalist to the man who ultimately bombed. Sorry, there's a lot of texting. I'll maybe discuss that later, but anyway, a man who bombed an area in Egypt. And then we go back in time a bit into the courtship between Rose and her husband Mark. Rose is working as an Egyptologist, a volunteer, and she wants to get her PhD in ancient Egyptian culture. Sister Gamila is becoming more religious. Her family's actually pretty secular, middle-class sort of Egyptian family. We get a little bit of perspective so far in what I've read from Gamila's point of view, which I really appreciate too, to talk about that weird space of people who become more religious than their parents and give her more dimension than just being, I don't know, fundamentalist stereotype. I mean, we don't really know much about her death yet anyway. I think some of this is a little overwritten in a way that I remember from her last novel and also from my own writing perhaps. Although I think the characters in this are more nuanced than in her first novel. I think she's taken a step up, and I really appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of this and giving my thoughts. I also hope to get through that soon because I gotta get chopped to some BookTube prize reading. And I think the first book I will tackle is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo. Which was a Booker winner, and I believe about a group of British black women. But that's all I want to say about it here because I'm judging this book for the finals for the BookTube prize. The BookTube prize is an annual award that goes for almost a full year of reading and judging last year's fiction and nonfiction titles. We are now, as indicated, in the final round with 6 books left in the literary fiction and the nonfiction categories, and we should have 2 winners in early October, if some of us get to the reading already. I'll link to more information about the BookTube prize down below. And that about covers it for me now, so all of the texting that I can't seem to cut out of everything I'm saying, I should have probably silenced my devices, is a long involved group chat I'm having with my old high school class. It's come to the point in the year when we're supposed to get our notes in for the alumni newsletter, usually consisting of, you know, updates with kids and jobs and moving and that sort of thing. But this year we were en route to that conversation when one of the the black members of my class mentioned putting Black Lives Matter in her statement, and suddenly that sort of careened the conversation. And now we are all basically saying something to the effect of Black Lives Matter. I personally wanted to be a little more personal in what I was saying, so I actually referenced some of the BookTube Prize books that I read and that really deepened my thinking on issues of systematic prejudice and oppression. I went to a really small private high school / middle school, very predominantly white, and there's been, I think, a little tension with the idea of being performative and a interpersonal dispute that came up between two people just recently that all the texting was about. It's been an interesting, thought-provoking conversation, and rather weird because I haven't seen most of these people in almost 20 years. So that's what I've been up to, at least for the last day or so. I'm hoping it'll be meaningful that a lot of my classmates expressed support for Black Lives Matter over, you know, the usual minutia of the day, and that some other people started leaving links to advocacy organizations that we can help support. But I still gotta put my fist up for reading and the power of picking up a book and hopefully putting your empathy and critical thinking skills to work. Hopefully high school taught us how to do both of those things. So in the meantime, I should be back sometime later next week with a page 112 tag to tackle more of the unread books on my shelves. Hope you're all going to have a great weekend. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.